Hello everyone, I'm here today to show you something a little bit different. It's a Wild West journal, and this was a special request from a family member who said, I really like your videos but I prefer westerns and comedies, so here is the western that you've been looking for. This is designed for a man's book, so it doesn't have all the sewing and fussy stuff that I normally put in the journals. It's fairly plain and straightforward, but it has a lot of interesting history in it. So the cover is done in a cloth fabric with saloon bar doors all over it, so it's very classic of the Western movie scene. And on the front we have the movie star William S. Hart, who played a cowboy in a lot of films. A bit of a sheriff's badge there and some Hessian background to the picture. So on the inside we have some cowboy boots and the Wild West. And over on the inside cover I've left this so there's room for a pocket, so you can actually tuck things in behind if you wanted to. Add a few things in there. So we have some tags I've just used string to give it a little bit of life rather than ribbons or fluffy stuff. So it's fairly simple. We have a fabric pocket here with a cowboy on and his little lasso. Some lovely horses racing down the railway line with cowboys shooting into the air. Typical cowboy movie scene. Another like the cover in a pocket with a tag inside which has horseshoe, which I've aged to look rusty, and just a little let's hit the trail tag. It's a bit of fun. Some movie posters. This one's John Wayne and Gail Russell in Angel and the Bad Man. I have a map of North America and South America there, where most of this took place, and a old western town, like scene from a movie, with the lovely stagecoach in the corner and some wagon wheels, and Cowboy Cafe it says on the door on the building. A rodeo poster for the West's Wildest Rodeo, and a whiskey glass down the bottom, and a bottle of whiskey, and a little piece of South Dakota's history tucked in there, which gives you the background of the gold in the Black Hills story, and a little bit about the Indians and the Missouri River Basin, the first settlement, Deadwood, the historic mining town of quick fortunes, gay life and gun law boomed after the 1876 gold strike. Wild Bill Hickok was shot in Deadwood while playing cards in a saloon. We have Time for a New Adventure cards and some journaling room in there, journaling card, Project Life card, and 3 lovely cowboys riding off into the sunset, as they do. Little tag in there that says eat, sleep, live, hunt, with some arrows. And Sierra, the movie. Now that is actually a DVD cover and has a horsey tag on the inside. We have the bear and the wolf. Another tag in there with a lovely old cart on it, with the beautiful big wagon wheels. Pop that back in here. And this is where I've tucked the DVDs in a much stronger place because the covers themselves are quite flimsy, and so I needed something with a little bit of strength that they would be safer in. So that's a little magnetised pocket attached to a calico strip that's sewn in so it can't fall out. Some tea-dyed pages. John Wayne, Irene Rich, Gail Russell in Angel and the Bad Man, 1947. The movie. And Dead Man's Hand. This is the poker game that Wild Bill Hickok was playing when he was shot in the back in Deadwood in a saloon. The whiskey bottle and glass. A movie poster from William S. Hart. The Money Corral. And here we've got Wild Bill himself. And another one of Wild Bill there with his cowboy boot tucked in there. And a much older one of Wild Bill Hickok. So Wild Bill Hickok was born James Butler Hickok in 1837. Folk hero of the American Old West, known for his work across the frontier as a drover, wagon master, soldier, spy, scout, lawman, gunfighter, gambler, showman and actor. He earned a great deal of notoriety in his own time, much of it bolstered by the many outlandish and often fabricated tales that he told about his life. Reports of his exploits are known to be fictitious, but they remain the basis of much of his fame and reputation, along with his own stories. Hickok was born and raised on a farm in northern Illinois at a time when lawlessness and vigilante activity were occurring because of the influence of the banditti of the prairie. Hickok was drawn to this ruffian style and headed west at age 18 as a fugitive from justice, working as a stagecoach driver and later as a lawman in the frontier territories of Kansas and Nebraska. He fought and spied for the Union Army during the American Civil War and gained publicity after the war as a scout, marksman, actor and professional gambler. Over the course of his life, he was involved in several notable shootouts. In 1876, Hickok was shot from behind and killed while playing poker in a saloon in Deadwood, Dakota Territory, present-day South Dakota, by Jack McCall, an unsuccessful gambler. The hand of cards, which he supposedly held at the time of his death, has become known as the Dead Man's Hand, 2 pairs, aces and eights. Hickok remains a popular figure in frontier history. Many historic sites and monuments commemorate his life, and he has been depicted numerous times in literature, film and television. He is chiefly portrayed as a protagonist, although historical accounts of his actions are often controversial, and most of his career was exaggerated by both himself and various mythmakers. While Hickok claimed to have killed numerous named and unnamed gunmen in his lifetime, he only killed 6 or 7 men in gunfights. McCall's motive for killing Hickok is the subject of speculation, largely concerning McCall's anger at Hickok's having given him money for breakfast the day before, after McCall had lost heavily. McCall was summoned before an informal miners' jury, an ad hoc local group of miners and businessmen. He claimed he was avenging Hickok's earlier slaying of his brother, which may have been true. A man named Lou McCall was killed by an unknown lawman in Kansas, but it is not known whether or not the 2 McCall men were related. McCall was acquitted of the murder, which prompted editorializing in the Black Hills Pioneer. Should it ever be our misfortune to kill a man, we would simply ask that our trial may take place in some of the mining camps of these hills. Calamity Jane was reputed to have led a mob that threatened McCall with lynching, but at the time of Hickok's death, Jane was actually being held by military authorities. After bragging about killing Hickok, McCall was rearrested. The second trial was not considered double jeopardy because of the irregular jury in the first trial and because Deadwood was an Indian country. The new trial was held in Yankton, the capital of the Dakota Territory. Hickok's brother, Lorenzo Butler, travelled from Illinois to attend the retrial. McCall was found guilty and sentenced to death. And here we have John Wesley Hardin. Another pocket, and a pocket tucked in there. I took a walk in the woods and came out taller than the trees. The Midnight Cowboy with the sheriff's badge and a horseshoe on the tag. The Untamed West. Find yourself in the outdoors. Tag. The Carts in a Circle. Horses. And this lovely tag with the Lone Ranger and Tonto and the ponies. And Wild Bill Hickok's star in the Trail of Fame. Another movie tucked in here, DVD, with some music on that says The Bogeyman. Cowboy on his horse. We have Calamity Jane here. Now, Calamity was actually born Martha Jane Cannery in 1852, and she was an American frontierswoman, professional scout, and known for being an acquaintance of Wild Bill Hickok's. Late in her life, she appeared in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and at the 1901 Pan American Exposition. She is said to have exhibited compassion to others, especially to the sick and needy. This facet of her character contrasted with her daredevil ways and helped her to make a noted frontier figure. She was also known for her habit of wearing men's attire. So that is Calamity, and there she is in her very masculine attire. And here she is in older life. She's actually at Bill Hickok's grave there. Now, she claimed to have been married at one stage to Bill Hickok. There's little available to prove that, but she claims she had a daughter with him. So she claims that she actually divorced him so he could be free to marry Agnes Lake, but no records have actually been found to support her account. The two possibly met for the first time after Jane was released from the guardhouse in Fort Laramie and joined the wagon train in which Hickok was travelling. The wagon train arrived in Deadwood in July 1876. Jane confirmed this account in an 1896 newspaper interview, although she claimed she had been hospitalised with illness rather than in the guardhouse. So she actually had an alcohol problem for most of her life, and that is what killed her in the end. So we have a movie poster there, The Square Deal Man with William S. Hart, and a very old picture here of Hickok. It's a rare tin type of Hickok, circa 1870, found with the last letter he wrote to his wife Agnes Thatcher Lake. Shortly before Hickok's death, he wrote a letter to his new wife which read in part, Agnes, darling, if such should be we never meet again, while firing my last shot, I will gently breathe the name of my wife, Agnes, and with wishes, even for my enemies, I will make the plunge and try to swim to the other shore. So he clearly was in love with Agnes. A rodeo poster. Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was born Phoebe Ann Annie Mosey on August 13, 1860. Annie began shooting and hunting by age 8 to support her siblings and her widowed mother. She also sold the game to restaurants and hotels in northern Ohio. Her skill paid off the mortgage on her mother's farm when Annie was 15. Travelling show marksman and former dog trainer Frank E. Butler put a $100 bet per side with Cincinnati hotel owner Jack Frost that Butler could beat any local fancy shooter. The hotelier arranged a shooting match between Butler and the 15-year-old Annie, saying the last opponent Butler expected was a 5-foot-tall 15-year-old girl named Annie. After missing on his 25th shot, Butler lost the match and the bet. Another account says that Butler hit on his last shot, but the bird fell dead about 2 feet beyond the boundary line. He soon began courting Annie, and they married. They did not have children. They joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West in 1885. At 5 feet tall, Oakley was given the nickname of Waitanya Cecilia by fellow performer Sitting Bull, rendered little shot in the public advertisements. At 30 paces she could split a playing card held edge on. She hit dimes tossed into the air. She shot cigarettes from her husband's lips, and a playing card being thrown into the air. She riddled it before it touched the ground. She earned more than any other performer in the show except for Buffalo Bill Cody himself. She also performed in many shows on the side for extra income. In 1901, Oakley was badly injured in a train accident, but she recovered after temporary paralysis and 5 spinal operations. She left the Buffalo Bill show and in 1902 began a less taxing acting career in a stage play written for her, The Western Girl. Oakley played the role of Nancy Berry, who used a pistol, a rifle and rope to outsmart a group of outlaws. Throughout her career, it is believed that Oakley taught more than 15,000 women how to use a gun. Oakley believed strongly that it was crucial for women to learn how to use a gun as not only a form of physical and mental exercise, but also to defend themselves. She said, "I would like to see every woman know how to handle guns as naturally as they know how to handle babies." She continued to set records into her 60s and also engaged in extensive philanthropy for women's rights and other causes, including the support of young women she knew. She embarked on a comeback and intended to star in a feature-length silent movie. She hit 100 clay targets in a row from 16 yards, 15 metres, at age 62 in a 1922 shooting contest in North Carolina. In late 1922, the couple were in a car accident that forced her to wear a steel brace on her right leg. She eventually performed again after more than a year of recovery, and she set records in 1924. Her health declined in 1925 and she died of anemia at the age of 66 on November 3rd, 1926. Her body was cremated in Cincinnati 2 days later and the ashes buried at Brock Cemetery near Greenville. Butler was so grieved by her death that he stopped eating and died 18 days later in Michigan, and his body was buried next to Oakley's ashes. Casper reports that the death certificate said that Butler died of senility. And here we've got Annie Oakley with her gun that she received from Buffalo Bill. And there she is when she was much younger. Miss Annie Oakley. And adorning her is all of her medals. Yeah. And some cowgirls. Wouldn't be the Wild West without some cowgirls. There's Miss Annie Oakley in Buffalo Bill's Wild West. The Peerless Lady Wing Shot. She actually has all of the medals pinned to her there too. Have a nice photo of a lone cowboy here on his horse and some horses riding off into the sunset. We have another one here of Buffalo Bill. John Wayne and Gail Russell. Again in Angel and the Bad Man. Buffalo Bill Cody. And Northwestern Transportation Freight picture. Buffalo Bill Cody. A lot of these actually come from Mrs. Cogg's kit. She has a lovely Western kit that she has on her page if you're interested in Western pictures. She's got a lovely set. William Frederick Buffalo Bill Cody, February the 26th, 1846 to January the 10th, 1917, was an American scout, bison hunter and showman. He was born in Iowa Territory, now the US state of Iowa, but he lived for several years in his father's hometown in Toronto Township, Ontario, Canada, before the family returned to the Midwest and settled in the Kansas Territory. Buffalo Bill started working at the age of 11 after his father's death and became a rider for the Pony Express at age 15. During the American Civil War, he served the Union from 1863 to the end of the war in 1865. Later, he served as a civilian scout for the US Army during the Indian Wars, receiving the Medal of Honor in 1872. One of the most colourful figures of the American Old West, Buffalo Bill's legend began to spread when he was only 23. Shortly thereafter, he started performing in shows that displayed cowboy themes and episodes from the frontier and Indian Wars. He founded Buffalo Bill's Wild West in 1883, taking his large company on tours in the United States and then in Great Britain and continental Europe. As a frontier scout, Cody respected Native Americans and supported their civil rights. He employed many Native Americans as he thought his show offered them good pay with a chance to improve their lives. He described them as the former foe, present friend, the American, and once said that every Indian outbreak that I have ever known has resulted from broken promises and broken treaties by the government. Cody supported the rights of women. He said, "What we want to do is give women even more liberty than they have. Let them do any kind of work they see fit, and if they do it as well as men, give them the same pay." Cody was active in the concordant bodies of the Freemasonry, the fraternal organisation. He became a Knight Templar in 1889 and received his 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in 1894. In his shows, the Indians were usually depicted attacking stagecoaches and wagon trains and were driven off by cowboys and soldiers. Many family members travelled with the men, and Cody encouraged the wives and children of his Native American performers to set up camp, as they would in their homelands as part of the show. He wanted the paying public to see the human side of the fierce warriors and see that they had families like any others and they had their own distinct cultures. Cody was known as a conservationist who spoke out against hide hunting and advocated the establishment of a hunting season. I have a picture of the Winchester 73 carbine here, which is popular because it was one that Buffalo Bill Cody actually used. And there's a little message here that says, among those satisfied customers who wrote the company regarding the 73 was Colonel W.F. Buffalo Bill Cody. His letter mailed from Fort McPherson, Nebraska appeared in the Winchester Catalogue of 1875 and included this statement: I have been using and thoroughly tested your latest improved rifle. Allow me to say that I have tried and used nearly every kind of gun made in the United States, and for general hunting or Indian fighting I pronounce your improved Winchester the boss. So that's just a little bit of extra history there. That's a compass. And of course we've got Wyatt Earp here, a more modern version of it. Some cowboy boots, and a baker's twine from the tags, cowboy hat, and that's the back of the DVD holder, Wild Bill. There, and there's a pocket there too to put things. We've got a DVD in here, which is the Wyatt Earp one, which is a much sturdier way of storing them. They don't fall out. And we've got the boys from Bonanza there, and a lovely cowboy on this horse. And here we've got the gorgeous Guy Madison, who played Wild Bill. He ended up dying of emphysema at the end of his life. We've got a rodeo guy on his horse and a little advertisement that says, Wranglers earn $30 per month cattle drive, Central Texas to Montana Territory. Able to endure harsh weather, hostile Comanches, dehorning and animal doctors most helpful. We do not care about a man's past, but we require a good attitude. Drinking, gambling and cussing will not be tolerated on trail. The Alamo. I don't know if they had roosters there, but I've got one in my background. And there he is in older life. William Cody, a cowboy. William Hart in the whistle. Explorer, a little Indian teepee. Old Faithful Geyser, Mammoth Hot Springs, Paseo del Rio Riverwalk, and a little tag with a little bit of history on it there. It's too small for me to read. I can't tell you what that is without binoculars. That's a 1920 drawing of William S. Hart. And we've got one here, so that's a pocket there too. We've got William S. Hart, the Dawn Maker. Got a lovely little wagon. Nice little wagon there. A little pocket in there. A Time for Dying is the video there. Got William S. Hart in that one. Buffalo. Time for Dying. We've got there again the Lone Ranger and Tonto with their horses. And another film here, William S. Hart in White Oak. Oh, the Lone Ranger on his horse. It looks gorgeous. Some feathers and an Indian. It wouldn't be the West without Indians, now would it? So we've got, that's a cigar card with the Great Chief. So we have Sitting Bull here with Bill Cody. We have a lovely story about a boy on a horse, saddled up, which kind of fits the era in the story. And we've got William Hart on the back. And Whiskey Nips, Billiard Sticks and Midnight Gin Flips is the inside cover. Beardedness, nature's becoming stamp of rugged masculinity, it says there. So that's the story of the Wild West. Yeah.